with the sub-theme of the day being good governance for equitable and sustainable development.
Azimio leader Raila Odinga has hit out at U.S. Ambassador to Kenya Meg Whitman for her remarks at the ongoing devolution conference that the 2022 general election were free and fair. Raila slammed the ambassador, telling her off not to meddle in Kenyan affairs.
And President William Ruto has nominated Ranson Mulele Ingonga as the next Director of Public Prosecutions DPP. In a memo presented to Parliament Thursday, President Ruto asked the Parliament to vet Mulele in accordance with the provisions of the law. Right, a very good morning to you. It is the 18th day of August 2023, and most definitely welcome to Friday. And as we always say, it's a Friday.
Feel good Friday.
Feel good Friday. But I'm actually excited for today because we will be having young people with us. Young people, and about 70% of Kenya's population is made up of the youth. And even as this week, we take stock of the past, the present and the future of devolution since its inception back in 2013. We'll definitely be taking a look at the role of youth in devolution.
Absolutely, and even as devolution marks 10 years since the inception, it is imperative to include the voices of the young people in making decisions and also maximizing their innovative skills in order to foster county development and empowerment of these youth in order to have an inclusive devolution, even as we look for way forward to make devolution better in the next decade. Good morning and welcome to Morning Cafe. I'm Flora Limuki.
And I'm yours truly, Stanley Nyeringita. Most definitely keep talking to us on our socials at Nyeringita_,
at Limuki_F,
at TV47 News on X,
at TV47 Kenya on Facebook.
Yes.
The hashtag is Morning Cafe.
They can actually also call in, by the way. The numbers are below there. 2047 is our SMS number. But now let's get the big story. And the big story this morning is that Azimio la Umoja Legal Counsel Paul Mwangi has written to the International Criminal Court, ICC, to initiate investigations into suspected serious misconduct by the court's chief prosecutor, Karim Khan. The lawyer has listed 4 issues of concern and 2 charges that he wants Karim Khan indicted with. Right, even as I'm sipping it's actually now a warm water. But then remember, we'll always be serving you hot coffee or any hot beverage as you like it this particular morning. And speaking of serving, Flora, what is on Matters Diary this morning before you get into the papers?
Well, just a brief look at what we'll be expecting today. Of course, the last day of devolution conference, and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua there is expected to officially close the devolution conference, which kick-started on Tuesday and ends today, even as we expect more some of the subtopics to be discussed today, including good governance for equitable and sustainable development objective, and also matters affirmative action, linking the lessons to sustainable future. Also, the strides in affirmative action that have been made in terms measures to guarantee place for women, the youth, and vulnerable group, even as our conversation today delves on matters and role of the youth in devolution. And away from that, we do have a new DPP in town, that is Ingonga, who was nominated by President William Ruto. However, his appointment awaits the vetting by the National Assembly. And there is also the whole conversation on Azimio leader Raila Odinga calling out the U.S. ambassador to Kenya, Meg Whitman, concerning her regards her speech the day after yesterday, concerning just telling the congregants during the devolution conference on why it is reasonable to invest in the country. That is what we have for today, but we keep on updating our diary as we move on.
Most definitely. Now let's get into the papers. But then I'm still looking for Kisii proverb. I'll have that for you next week. But for this week, I'll have a Malawian proverb for you. He who thinks he is leading and has no one following him is only taking a walk. He who thinks he is leading and has no one following him is only taking a walk. And again, now this is even for the leaders there. Quite a large number of people who are following you are the youth. So are you really following what they are telling you? That we'll definitely even be sharing a question of the day later on. But let's get into the dailies. We do have the Daily Nation, we do have the Standard, People Daily, Business Daily, and we'll also get other across the borders, Uganda and Tanzania. I'll start with the Daily Nation. The Daily Nation this morning, BBI Season 2. Ahead of last year's presidential election, a campaign to amend the constitution fronted by Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga was resisted by William Ruto. But the Supreme Court eventually scuttled the crusade. Now the president's and Raila's factions are in talks that are revisiting some contentious issues. That story is on page 4. So they break down what was listed in the Building Bridges Initiative and also what is being listed in the National Dialogue Committee. The leader of official opposition reflects on both. In the National Dialogue Committee, there is the Office of Prime Cabinet Secretary, and in the BBI, there was Office of Prime Minister. In the National Dialogue Committee, there's 9 additional counties from 47 to 56. In BBI, and 70 additional constituencies from 290 to 360. We'll also be getting to hear from our panelists this morning if we should really be going on this particular path. In the NDC, there is a National Dialogue Committee, Ward Development Fund, and it is actually reflecting also on the BBI, what was actually in the BBI. And also in the NDC, there is 2/3 general, top up of 40 more women in the National Assembly and the Senate. In the BBI, 2/3 general, each county represented by a woman and a man elected to the Senate, and special top-up sits in the National Assembly. Wrangles, the warring political factions are still haggling about the agenda for dialogue. You can remember even yesterday we were actually chiming onto this, borrowing of ideas from both manifestos.
Absolutely.
On the top strip of a Daily Nation, graft suspect claims 21 million shillings was found to pay for dowry. Daniel Wambua, an accountant with the Kenya Rural Roads Authority, whose bank account was frozen, claims the Anti-Corruption Commission misled court the money is dirty. 21 million shillings fund for dowry. Lemuki, hypothetically,
I don't want to state my price. That is, I leave that to my dad.
Okay. So you'd really have to go all the way to Meru and...
But for sure you'll have to buy a couple of camels.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the back page of the Daily Nation this morning, underage students could miss out on university loans, scholarships, and what else here? Inside the Daily Nation, devolution at 10, a decade of unyielding battle against FGM and early marriages. Right, in the left side of Daily Nation, breakthrough as a new way to treat prostate cancer available locally. So highly targeted and effective option for treating prostate cancer in its early stages is now available in Kenya. And in matters courts, Finland saga, state wants the bank accounts of Mandago and his aides frozen. Prosecution will also pursue seizure of assets belonging to Uasin Gishu Senator Jackson Mandago and his co-accused. And also below that, a very interesting story. Raila wants U.S. envoy on doubling in local politics. Right, and that is basically what is on the front page of the Daily Nation.
Right, time to look at the Standard. Of course, the headline of the Standard this morning there, Raila storm over U.S. envoy Paul remark. A comment by the American ambassador Meg Whitman on President Ruto's poll victory draws a sharp reaction from Azimio, with Raila Odinga asking the envoy, who received backing from Kenya Kwanza leaders, to leave Kenyans alone. Of course, the Azimio leader there was speaking during the devolution conference, where he was the chief guest yesterday. And just a comment from Raila: Kenya is not a colony of the United States. Keep your mouth shut, otherwise we shall go for a recall. She should leave Kenyans alone. Words there by Azimio leader Raila Odinga yesterday as he was addressing the congregants during the devolution conference being held in Eldoret Sports Club in Uasin Gishu County throughout this week. And on the top strip of the Standard this morning, heated debate in House over marriage bill. That story is on page 3 of the Standard this morning. Of course, this is concerning the Marriage Amendment Bill 2023 that proposes that couples can now divorce through mutual consent instead of going through all that up and down and dragging of the cases in courts. Some business matters, bank rakes in super profit. That story is on page 22 of the Standard this morning. And Kenya gets love for sports. Some good news there.
Oh,
on
yes.
Page 32.
We were actually talking about this yesterday.
Yes.
The whole reinventing sports in the country.
Yes. Yeah. And yesterday we saw even a very heated debate in the Parliament actually concerning the Cabinet Secretary for Sports. That is the whole conversation on Paralympics. When those the guys went to represent us outside there in Berlin, they were not seen off nor received, as usually see in most cases when athletes come back. So it was just a call on the CS for sports there to just treat all athletes and sports people with the same priority. Yeah? And bad news for Mandago as DPP targets to freeze its cash assets. The Director of Public Prosecutions intends to go after the assets of Senator Jackson Mandago and 2 co-accused in relation to the 1.1 billion Finland education program scandal. That story is on page 8 of the Standard this morning.
Right, let me take a look at People Daily. And I'll actually go with the headline that we have not yet encountered so far. For the People Daily, the top strip, they are giving you a whole breakdown of how your taxes that are being collected are being used. So it is deep in page 14. Want to know how government spends the money that KRA collects? We break down the numbers for you to gain knowledge from your pain. That really looks like a very interesting read. They'll also go the whole road to nominate candidates for DPP Central Bank Chairman. Polls, Raila hits out at US envoy. Protest note as Melida tells Ambassador Meg Whitman to keep off Kenyan affairs a day after she said the country had conducted its freest and most credible elections. Says this will hurt Boma's talks. Okay. And we'll actually hope to see how on Monday this will be shaping up, even as the technical committees will be meeting.
Absolutely, and it's quite interesting to see some of these utterances, even as the committees is expected now to give an update in the next 60 days. And then there's also these dialogue talks that are going on. So I don't know how these might affect whatever the discussions that they're having while drawing in these utterances from both the Azimio and Kenya Kwanza coalitions. I think it waters down the whole purpose of those discussions.
Yes, so, but then again, even as one side tries to have and extend the olive branch, well, hopefully the olive branch will be extended and it won't dry on its way there. Below the bottom strip of People Daily, in matters courts, Madago Freedom bond over Finland scandal. Matters sports, top athletes, gold rush in Budapest is officially on. That is what is on the People Daily. You do have another paper there?
To have the Taifa Leo this morning.
Okay.
The headline there on Taifa Leo, Raila mlima balozi wa Amerika. That all conversation malumbano hii ni baada ya mjumbe huyo wa Amerika kusifu serikali ya Ruto kuhusu mambo mbalimbali yanayopingwa na muungano wa Azimio la Umoja. Habari hiyo iko katika ukurasa wa pili wa gazeti la Taifa Leo asubuhi hii. Na vile katika Taifa Leo, Mdavadi Wetangula katika vita, vigogo wa magharibi wawania ubaba wa jamii ya Mulembe. Yeah, that is Taifa Leo. That story, you can find it on page 8 of Taifa Leo this morning. And still on the top strip of Taifa Leo, matter sports there, Man City hawacheki na mtu. Watoa taji la UEFA Super Cup baada ya kuliza Sevilla japo kwa jasho. Na vile katika gazeti la Taifa Leo, the lower strip of Taifa Leo this morning, mwanaume ajichoma Mombasa sababu ya gharama ya maisha. Mwanaume alishangaza wakazi wa Mombasa jana alipopanda juu ya sanamu kabla ya kujimwagilia mafuta na kujichoma moto. Mwanaume huyo aliyesemekana kuhitimu chuo kikuu alidaiwa kuchukua hatua hiyo kulalamikia gharama ya juu ya maisha. Sad story there. Find it on page 2 of the Taifa Leo this morning. Na maafisa afya wambeba manamba wa matatu aliyejichoma huyo. There is a picture there of the man who burnt himself down. And on the lower strip of Taifa Leo, nguo za Kenya sasa marufuku Amerika. Shehena ya nguo za watoto zilizoshonwa Kenya yadaiwa kuwa hatari. On page that's 2 there. That's just something else. And then do you see the contradiction? On one side, we do have the US ambassador here marketing us all over, and then we see this ban of Kenyan clothes there again. So I don't know.
But then again, you'd find fine. They probably won't want shehena nguo za watoto zilizoshona Kenya yadaiwa kuwa hatari. But on the flip side, if it's Masai shukas, for example, the whole Masai artifacts, the whole hand bracelets and all this, they'd really run for this. Absolutely. You'd find probably in the whole museums, the whole airport in in US maybe, and even in Kenya, the tourists who come to Kenya, they'd really want to run for this. So, which is which?
It's a double speak, but we can just wait and see what comes out of that.
Right, now to matters money, that is the Business Daily. Peter Kenneth, 3 farms hit with 1.1 billion Kenyan shillings tax demand. KRA corners entities for under-declaring capital gains tax. Tax was tripled from 5.0% to 15% from January. It gives you a breakdown on how all those particular 3 firms and what each is being owed. Transactions with capital gains tax, CGT due, and also KRA is demanding 1.13 billion Kenyan shillings in capital gains tax. And from that, the right side of Business Daily, Thuge warns Parliament against a reviving interest rate caps on loans. That is, Central Bank of Kenya has warned MPs against proceeding with a bill that seeks to reintroduce caps on interest rates, arguing it will hurt the economy. And LSK to self-regulate in war on dirty cash. The Law Society of Kenya, LSK, said that the deal signed with the state will see them self-regulate their members in the fight against money laundering, but will keep the confidentiality of the clients. And this is actually a question that I really was trying to ponder yesterday. You remember the whole headline on LSK and also, financial reporting. They, struck a deal to ensure that lawyers can actually snitch out the clients who, are having dirty deals and all that. So again, we do see here now in-house now LSK self-regulating on dirty cash, but as we all know in Kenya, wash and all that. So
there's actually an anti-money laundering bill that is currently being discussed in Parliament.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so if it passes, we look forward to regulation of all these camaraderie that we've been having on matters dirty cash and money laundering. Yeah.
But implementing it will be the biggest elephant in the room.
True.
Below the eyes on CBK's second deputy governor as Ruto picks chair. The new chair is Andrew Mukite Musangi, said to be the next chairperson of CBK. That is what is on the Business Daily. Do we cross the borders now?
Yeah, time to cross the borders now.
Oh, actually, before, I don't know if...
avoiding Nairobi.
Is there anything that you can really see here? Well, actually matters security, the top strip of Nairobian. Border thugs, reign of terror, killing citizens. Page 14 of Nairobian. I believe even as this week began, it did see a number of videos on different social media platforms of insecurity around parts of Nairobi.
Yes.
Okay.
Be taking a look at the Nairobian at around 9:30 when it comes to time for trends.
We'll have to can that for later.
Yes.
Away from that?
The Citizen, we cross borders now to Tanzania. On the Citizen, top strip there, Tanzania, DR Congo hold up EAC budget implementation. The East African community has been drawn into the uncertainty after 2 members states withheld assent to the bloc's 2023-2024 budget passed sometime in June. And still in Tanzania, Tanzanian-born Americans thrilling safari experience. And deal gives graphite mining fresh impetus. There, the mining graphite in Tanzania received a new boost after Australia's Evolution Energy Minerals signed a supply deal with China-based BTR New Material Group Corporation. $667 million there is the value of the graphite mining contract signed in April between Tanzania and 3 Australian firms. And the matters money, there are winners and losers in US dollar crunch. With the shortage of US dollars and appreciation of the currency hitting importers hard in recent months, there are those who are benefiting from the situation. That story is on page 3 there of the Citizen this morning, and they also tell us a piece about the challenges envoys face abroad.
Right now to some Swahili papers in Mwananchi in Tanzania. Madai ya udhalilishaji wanafunzi. Mkuu wa shule Dar achunguzwa, kwani serikali yaunda kamati 2 kuchunguza tuhuma zake adaiwa kuwadhalilisha wanafunzi wa kike kingono. Watoto zaidi ya 20 wamtaja waandika yote anayowafanyia, mwenyewe ang'aka, wazazi wafunguka. Okay. Just to have a quote there. Yaliyosemwa ni kuwa tukibaini ukweli wa taarifa hizo, tutachukua hatua za haraka. Tuhuma za mwanafunzi aliacha shule tutamtafuta, na ninakiagiza kikosi kazi kesho, hiyo ni jana, kitaanza kufanyia kazi kwa haraka. Mbali na hayo ni kuwa sintofahamu watuhumiwa kutofikishwa mahakamani. Habari kuu katika ukurasa wa 4. Vyakula hatari kwa afya yako endapo ... alama ya jarida la afya. Alama ya
Wasema alama ya?
Alama ya ...
Dukuduku jamani.
Kidogo Kiswahili
reminds me of the guy who was translating that whole charge sheet for Mandago during the court session yesterday.
Yeah.
And he got to a point where he was supposed to translate, is translating direct from the paper. So he gets to a point where he gets the word overseas. So he's struggling to find out what's the name. Instead of saying katika benki za ngambo ama maskwenda ngambo, alisema wanafunzi na benki za majuu.
Kiswahili, tukipenda Kiswahili. Bajeti lugha kigingi ufanisi wa mabalozi, katika ukurasa wa 2. Hapo juu katika gazeti la Mwananchi ni kwa sababu kufungiwa kwa bar The Cask Mwanza. Kwa mengi, is there any other paper here apart from Mwananchi?
Not really.
All right.
What we have for now.
28 minutes past the hour. We can take a look at what is happening
Cartoon section.
in the cartoons. I'll also try to get Taifa Leo, the cartoon for this morning. But then this morning we can start with the Standard. Is on page 16 of the Standard. This morning you can definitely take a look at that with us. Caricature there, I completely have no idea who that is, I won't lie. Sitting on a chair written Central Bank of Kenya, he's wondering, BBI. So basically, if you've ever gone to one of those eye testing like me, there's always, you sit, let's say a meter or two, and there's the whole whiteboard. It has a number of letters and also numbers in different fonts in different sizes. So he's basically a whole eye testing.
Yes.
And what he's maybe seeing is BBI. As much as what I can see, he is bipartisan talks bombers, but then what he can see is BBI.
Remember, during the last year's general election, BBI was really a big talking point that the other camp used against the Azimio camp then. Of course, downplaying every other proposal that was in the BBI. But right now, we now see them trying to include matters that were in BBI in the bipartisan talks now. So really, it's a U-turn. Again, it's a double speak from this side. Yeah, so and remember this the BBI was being fronted mostly by former President Uhuru Kenyatta, who was the then kingpin for the Central Kenya. These people voted them down. Yeah, voted them down because of fronting for BBI, which was quote unquote said to be there for people. There's that word a lot during the election period. Mabwenyenye and VAO, yes.
Yeah, so for them it wasn't hustler friendly.
Exactly. And now we see it's back. We're talking matters office of the opposition. We are talking matters office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary.
Increasing constituencies and
Absolutely. The Ward Development Fund, as well as matters agenda. Yeah. So it's an interesting cartoon there on the Standard this morning.
It mirrors the front page of the Daily Nation. They call it BBI Season 2. And another quite interesting bit here is now for page 18 of the Daily Nation this morning. Huge Oxford shoes on top of a caricature that looks like President William Ruto. He's signing paper there. Appointment, one of those presidential appointments. And on the door, who's leaving? A caricature that I will believe is the former now DPP Nuruddin Haji. He's saying Kwaheri. He's probably removed his shoes and those ones, and really comes to show how big of a shoes even the office of DPP really is. DPP Nuruddin Haji himself has really, been on the crossroads even with activists, yes, and really castigating him, and even the opposition, yes, in this government and also in the previous one, for his conduct basically. So again, the quite big shoes. Well, this is going to be interesting. I mean, even the president himself is really looking at these shoes and he's sweating out.
Yeah, because
what am I going to do with these shoes? Even as much as we did see him, appoint a new DPP.
And of course, this comes at the backdrop of all those cases being dropped after the Kenya Kwanza government came in, and then now out DPP Haji, in comes Renson Ingonga, and I would say the biggest assignment is really even to capture back the confidence from the public, because really you can't tell us that there was not enough evidence for all those cases. So it's really also to make sure he has the confidence and goodwill of the people, even as he tries to fill in the big shoes there for the Director of Public Prosecutions. But of course, his appointment is pegged on the vetting from the National Assembly.
Right, even yes, as I try to get the cartoon for people, not People Daily, but let me actually see what People Daily have this morning. Okay, so People Daily is on page 10, and they stay away from matters, the whole politics and all that. They go with a very interesting bit there. If you can also have that on the screens. That is on page 10 of the People Daily. Go and teach them about safe sex. I'll teach them about drugs and alcohol. So I believe those are maybe parents. And the father is saying, I'm not teaching those children about safe sex. I'll teach them about drugs and alcohol. And possibly the mother is saying, that's a hot subject. Let the teachers do it. And well, the kids there watching television. Matters sex education, a taboo subject.
It also speaks to all this whole conversation on the ban on TikTok. Yeah, because our kids are so exposed nowadays. This morning I think I'll go with the Daily Nation's cartoon. Great assignment lies ahead for the incoming DPP, whether it's Renson Ingonga following his vetting by the National Assembly. There's a lot to do in terms of gaining the public trust again.
Oh, yes. And even again, we'll see the president will nominate someone, and now the whole process of vetting many number of leaders and even from the opposition have really opined that yes, it's always a whole, just stamping yes, what the president had nominated. It's a whole, cycle of all this. He nominates, they stamp, and this person really goes in. So we wait to see how the new DPP, rather appointed, will work. All right. Remember, this particular morning we'll be having a whole panel of young people just to take stock of the past, the present, and also the future on matters devolution. The youth really account for a huge percentage, about 70% of Kenya's population. But basically, what is their role in matters devolution, in the whole devolved units, the whole 47 counties? What is their role in these respective counties when it comes to matters education, when it comes to matters health, you name it, even when it comes to matters formulating of policies? Who will we be having this morning?
We do have Munyi Rukungu, the CEO, to Some Fund Plan. We'll also be having Vivian Kabiru, as an award-winning female student leader from the University of Nairobi. Also on the bench this morning is the President, Students Association of the Technical University of Kenya, Kirera Muchoki. Also be having Teddy Odhiambo, who is the president for Kenyatta University, and also Melvin Dogo, a lawyer and a current student leader at the University of Nairobi, and finally Jane Ekialo, who is a youth leader. Definitely do have to stick by for that interesting conversation from a youth perspective.
Oh yes, and this morning we do ask you, do you think the youth are actively involved when it comes to matters devolution? Do you think the youth are actively involved when it comes to matters devolution? Start talking to us on our socials at Nyerinkita_Lemuki_F at
TV47 News on X, previously Twitter, and TV47 Kenya on Facebook. The hashtag is Morning Cafe.
Stick around. Shall we take a short break?
Sure.
the top of the hour, you're watching Morning Cafe. The hashtag is Morning Cafe. 22047 is our SMS number. At TV47 News on X, at Nyerungita _ at Limuki _F, at Fred Ndimuli, who's not with us this morning. He's all the way in Eldoret to Singishu County. And this morning, as this particular week, we talk matters devolution, this week we really want to hear the voices of the young people. These young people make up about 70% of the population. But what is their role in matters devolution? And this morning, we also ask you, do you feel like the youth are really factored in when it comes to matters devolution, the whole devolved units? Allow me to introduce, we actually really expect to have a whole panel of the young people. But this morning, we're quite privileged to have on the far side, Kirera Mushoki, who's the President, Students Association of the Technical University of Kenya. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Looking sharp.
Thank you so much.
Salama, welcome to TV47. And also Munyi Rukunga. Is it Rukunga? Rukungu. Yeah. Or Rukungu. Okay. The CEO of Tusome Plan.
Tusome Fund Plan.
Tusome Fund Plan.
Yeah.
Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
In a nutshell, who is apart from even CEO, being as a CEO, as a young CEO, how does it even feel to be a young CEO? Tukianza tu hapo.
You know, it's overwhelming because there is no finances right now, especially in the charitable organization that we are working on. So being as a young CEO, it's a blessing also. But actually, we are trying our level best.
All right.
Yeah, but things will be good very soon.
In God's plan.
Yeah.
Which university are you from?
I am from Laikipia University. I'm a graduate, and I'm also a student at Mount Kenya University. I'm doing my international relations there.
Hey.
I'm supposed to graduate, that is early next year.
People are eating books out here. Mm-hmm. And also the privilege to have Jane Chalo, a youth leader. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you? I'm
also fine. Apart from being a youth leader, do you also represent a particular university today?
Apparently no. I'm not. I'm a student. I'm a master's student at the University of Nairobi.
Oh, the first student of UN I've had not starting with B.
Yeah.
Lemuki is also a fellow UN, and she always starts with
I am why from you're B. Butchering the D.
I say the University of Nairobi.
Oh, okay. Maybe the Th wasn't as oomph.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
Most definitely. By the way, keep talking to us on our socials at TV47 News. Even as we ask you, do you feel like the young people are involved in matters devolution?
Definitely, and I see Teddy Odhiambo has joined us there, the president, Kenyatta University. Teddy, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
It's good to have you this morning.
It's good to have you.
All right, kindly Teddy, utawasha mic alafu sasa uanze ku.
Okay, sawa. Sorry. Jam ya Nairobi.
Okay.
But you know, with this administration, people don't say that traffic was the reason. But it's okay. It's good to have you guys. And of course, the conversation is on matters devolution. And even to kickstarters, perhaps you could ask a general question that what is your view on the level of youth engagement in matters decision making at county level 10 years after the devolution? Do you feel the youth have been given the space, or have they been sidelined? Have their voices been heard in the last 10 years?
Mm-hmm. I think the topic on the 10th year of devolution really resonates with the youth, because it is talking about the present and the future. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, the youth have really fought to be heard. They have really fought for their positions in terms of decision making for the last couple of years.
Yes.
And it's imperative that I appreciate that we have at least taken stage in getting to be heard. in as much as there are so many challenges, you know, lack of inclusion, especially at the county levels, decision making and all that. And of course, there is a need to really inform the youth of their functions at the county levels, because most of them are not informed. Yeah.
And really, Kirera, I don't know if you've been following up the whole week of devolution. Was the youth represented fully in all these talks in matters of devolution, even the whole theme being, you know, the past, the present, and the future? Do you feel like the voice of the youth was really heard there?
To be honest, I would like to say not as much. Reason being, if that would have been the case, then we would have seen more people that we recognize, because we, again, are the youth. So most of the time, the people who go into such spaces are people who are predominantly out of that particular category, the ones who create policies for the youth and not necessarily by the youth. So I wouldn't say I have seen that much involvement. We are getting there. I do agree with my fellow president, Teddy Odhiambo. We have come a long way. It's been 10 years, and we have a long way to go because we are a young country as Kenya, but we are not where we need to be. We're not where we need to be. The very moment I'm able to recognize somebody I have been with who is within my particular age bracket, then I could understand that we are being involved in that particular process. So yes, there's a lot more work that needs to be done, both from the administrative level, the people in administration, but also from ourselves as youth, because you cannot ask for something which you're not capable of handling. We can ask to be on the devolution table, but not unless we have the capabilities, the knowledge, the experience, then there's nothing much we'll be able to do even if we get there. Yes.
And maybe, Rukungu, how then do you think the youth can harness these opportunities when it comes to matters such as the devolution conference? How can they create a niche for themselves and put themselves on the front center stage in order for their voices to be heard?
First and foremost, I would like to recognize what my fellow student leaders have said. It's true that the youths have been sidelined. Actually, in this year, 2022, we are 0% representation at the devolution. If you recall very well, back in 2018, that's the only year that I saw some few youths, according to what Moshoki has said.
I'm sorry to cut you short, but then we have seen young leaders there.
We haven't seen. It's been political. Actually, 2023 has been political throughout since it started. That is on was it Wednesday? Once the president opened the devolution conference, that's when we saw the whole process looks like it's political. There is no youth representation. So now I would like to ask my fellow youths to just rise up and look for that opportunity and tell the leaders, face the leaders. You know, there is that lady from Wasingishu that faced their leaders and said, you know, you have to do this for us because you promised. You said the date, you said the time, but it's now our time now to set everything that we need in this devolution. You know, devolution is all about oversight. And once the youths are the ones who are supposed to do oversight in the devolution. So they have to rise up and call these leaders as to why they are not being represented. They are not given an equal measure in representation in those devolution summits. All
right, and even as you also chime into that, today at about 8 a.m., today is the last day of this devolution conference in Eldoret, and the sub-theme, among the sub-themes will be good governance for equitable and sustainable development, and we'll also be seeing, let me see the other one here, and affirmative action linking the lessons to a sustainable future. So it would basically be the objective of this would be to examine the strides that have been made in the affirmative action agenda and propose responsive measures that can be adapted to guarantee the place of women, the youth, and the most vulnerable in matters governance. Jane, I'll start with you on this. He says he didn't really see the youth, involved there? As much as, well, we did see young leaders, members of parliament, and other, young delegates there, but for him it was quite political, even as we chime in on that. Today, they'd really be talking about the youth and in matters governance. What will you really be expecting to hear from this panel discussion?
First and foremost, I want to say the problem that we face so much as the youth is lack of unity. Sorry. Most of us tend to be so detached from what is happening out there. If you've seen the government, like for example, let me talk about Makueni. I come from Makueni County. Every time there is a forum whereby we are discussing some of these issues concerning the county and the like, the youth don't normally show up. When you go to those meetings, those barazas, the only people who you will find there are the old men and women in the village. The youth will only show up when the governor is there. And the only thing that person will do is to ask for a photo with the governor. You can imagine. So if we are not informed on some of these matters, if we are not informed on some of these matters, how do you expect us to be talking about involvement in devolution? I mean, I cannot just go somewhere in some village in Kawalese, Turkana County, and try to get somebody from nowhere who has no idea what is happening out there. Yeah. So we need to be so much informed on matters devolution. Not many people even know what are some of these devolved functions. So as much as we want to be involved in devolution, we need to do research on what devolution is about, what factors tend to affect us as the youth, and we need to be so much united to make this happen. Now, when we come to the discussion that we expect out there, of course, it's about youths complaining of failure to be involved in devolution. We cannot progress if we are not informed. So until we show the potential that we have, that is the only time that we'll see any progress. So yeah.
Perhaps I'll come to Ted and ask you then, even as we say that the youth are detached from matters devolution, what then is the best way to ensure that there's youth inclusion in matters devolution?
Okay, so I think to really connect it from the speaker, my good friend there, there is to talk and there is to act. And I think it's the right time that our leaders should now... Okay, I think I will switch it on. Yeah, I'm saying that I think it is now time to implement and not to just talk. And so it is actually a personal initiative from the youth to rise up and to stand for what belongs to them and to salvage the current situation. Because all the time, or over time, we've been saying we are not included, we want the space for the youth, we want this and that. Yet, we are the most energetic, we are the most youthful, and we have the capability. So I think it needs to come from within us. Let's not wait for others or our elders to come and help us, you see. And again, we need to know our roles, especially at the county levels. We know we have the oversight role as a youth. We know we should be included in industrialization at the county level. We know that we should also be taking part, of course, if it succeeds, the housing project and all that. So it is a personal initiative, according to me. Yeah.
Great.
All right, and quite interesting conversations here. And I can actually love the fact that I'm hearing functions of functions of functions. So I'm curious, do the youth really understand their functions when it comes to matters devolution? It is 7 a.m. On the dot. We are taking a short break. Keep talking to us. Remember, we are asking you, are the youth really factored in when it comes to matters devolution? We'd really love to hear what you really have to say. Maybe as a young person, maybe even as well as an older citizen. What do you really have to say on this topic? at Nyeringita _ at Limuki _F, that is on X, or if you prefer, Twitter. We'll be right back. Past the top of the hour, welcome back. This is Morning Cafe, and it is a Friday as we get to hear the perspective of the youth, as we always do every single Friday. And today we are really privileged, by the way, to have a whole multitude, if I can say, of young people who can really chime in on the whole conversation of 10 years of devolution. What are the whole gains? What should we really be looking forward to when it comes to even different sectors of devolution? Are we really there? Before the break, a number of them were really talking about functions. Do the youth really understand the functions and all this? And even this morning we ask you, are the youth really factored in when it comes to matters devolution? But then allow me to introduce one of our new panelists this morning. Okay, not new, but who's just joined us. Melvin Thogo, lawyer. Karibu sana wakili. Asante. I hope you're well. Yes, I'm well. All right. Lemuki. Yeah, and of course, time to continue the conversation. This week has been the 8th devolution conference being held at Uasin Gishu County. And of course, even as we expect that conversation on matters, inclusion of the youth in matters devolution, I think it's good to draw in the question of with 10 years of devolution,
what do you think are some of the gains in regards to young people, Kirena?
I would say that over time we've actually seen more people get accommodated, because previously when we used to have just the national government, we could not have as many people on that particular table. But right now, because it's decentralized, if I could say, we have more people from particular regions, which brings the aspect of specificity, coming onto the platform and being able to advocate for things that specifically affect them. So yes, there has been an increase. And as I said before, it's because it's become decentralized. So a person from Trans-Nzoia will understand what exactly people from Trans-Nzoia are going through. A person from Nairobi County, from Mombasa, from all these places will be able to understand specifically the problems that they're facing and be able to address. And I think that's where the youth have probably been able to get into much more. Again, maybe it's because of more numbers being needed, so you'd still need to get people. Maybe that's also a factor. But I also would hail that the whole process has brought in the youth much more into it. Again, we are able to see much more equitable distribution of resources, depending on the particular region you're coming in, depending on particular problems you're facing. For example, in Turkana County, you'd probably be able to see more youth getting into programs that will benefit the community in terms of food distribution and all those things. In Nairobi County, we have programs where youth are involved in tree planting and collection and all these things. So yes, you can actually see that being as a result of devolution.
But then, and previously you were talking about functions. You allude to different specific devolved units. Nairobi. She was talking about Jane comes from Makueni. I've stayed in Makueni, schooled in Makueni a number of times. I really know the whole roads. But then, even as the young people there, come to you, Wakili, on this. Do we understand our functions in specific devolved units? For example, from which county you come from? Do the youth around there understand the specific, maybe if it's the schools there, maybe if it's the health sector, what is my role in bettering all this from this specific county?
Okay. Thank you. I'll speak for two counties, Nairobi and Nakuru County. And I think looking at each county individually, you find that the perception and even the comprehension of what our roles, what the functions of the county government are, they're different. For example, in Nairobi, at least you find the youth are really eager and agile to know what is the county government supposed to do for us, how are we supposed to participate in what is happening in the bylaws, and how are we supposed to even hold our MCAs accountable. And then you go back to Nakuru and you find that Nakuru is quite a slow city. So let me just say that there are other parts that people actually do not understand. What should we do? Who are our county assembly members? What are they supposed to do for us? And how am I supposed to act in this, in the purview of devolution? And I think what we are doing now and what we need to do is also go now to the deepest parts and educate them and tell them why, when in a county where you have a governor and members of the county assembly, it's like you have your own country. So
who's we in this equation?
Again,
because even as you say, we go out there to educate them. You'd really find many youth telling you, but what's the work of a senator? What's the work of UMC wangu? Kazi yake ni nini hapa? Many people, but 10 years, they still don't understand what's the work. We have a governor, yes. What's the work of a senator?
The we are people like me now who know what a county assembly is supposed to do for me in a county. And those, because again, the people who we see who are mostly activists and people participating in social activities are the youth. So it's us. If I come from University of Nairobi and go back home to Nakuru.
Oh, you're also from the University of Nairobi?
Yes.
Nikatedi nika mimi na ndio hapa KU but
so I should be able to go back home and tell my brothers and sisters that you guys, this is what we're supposed to do. And when you see that there's a fight up there, the national government, you should also ask yourself, what are we supposed to do down here? Is there something that we can change down here, or we have to go up there? Because sometimes I see ourselves blaming the national government when actually we can be holding our governors, our MCAs accountable and just get the services that we want. And devolution is supposed to be like self-actualizing the governance. So it means that where I am in Nakuru County, I should be able to get what somebody in Nairobi County is getting.
Right.
I shouldn't have to say that, one day when I go to Nairobi, then this is the time when I can get this kind of services. And while we're talking about I know that look at us on social media. We do so much. Right now there's TikTok, there's Twitter, and by the way, I hear there's the biggest revolution will occur through TikTok. So if we also want our people to
Fingers
know,
crossed.
yes. So if we also want things to be done and even to make the others know these things, then we have to talk to them through these platforms, and that is on us.
Right.
Yes.
Limuki, even before we get into the whole youth participation, I'm curious from Jin. She talks about even do people really understand how a devolved unit works, the leadership, from all the way from the national government and also the county government. But as a youth leader, and even from Makueni, do we really understand all this? The work of the governor, the work of the senator, boiling down all the way?
Honestly, I can say not everyone is quite informed on the roles of each of these officers or leaders, so to say. So look at, for instance, when we go to these meetings, for instance, you might see maybe the senator, the governor, the member of National Assembly coming to maybe a burial or something, or just a function in the village. And you see the demands these people are making, and you wonder, goodness gracious, do you people know the role of a governor? Do you know the role of a member of National Assembly in this case? Yeah. So I can say we are out of touch. Yeah, as the youth. So we still need to be to do more research on the role of each of these leaders, what they're supposed to do for us, and what they're supposed to do for the entire community. Yeah.
Interesting. And Melvin was mentioning something about formulation of policies and law. And I would ask Teddy, what does devolution then stand to gain when you involve the youth in matters formulation of these laws and policies at the county level?
Okay. First, I think it's important to have most of the youth in county assemblies, so to say, elective positions, because it is during that time that they will be able to discuss issues and implement the right things that the youth really require. And so the youth will really gain, if at all, matters relating to their needs and their aspirations are really implemented. And it's all about employment. Talk about employment, about the youth, their active participation at the county levels, talk about affirmative action, and all that, digital skills, entrepreneurial skills on the youth. And the youth really stand a chance to gain a lot if they are really advocated for.
Yeah. All right, even as you mentioned, being advocated for. When you're here last year's election, I believe you vied, rather you're vying and all this. You went to the whole rigorous, the whole murky political world. You can tell us how that was, because I'm pretty sure maybe ground ilikuwa tofauti. You can tell us how the ground ilisema. But then, even as saying, being really having leaders who advocate for them, how the whole functions, even for leaders young people who are really trying to vie. Is it a whole safe space that you can actually go out there? Will people have the confidence in you? You're going to campaign and they have confidence in you. They believe you as Munyi, you understand the problems, and you can actually go to maybe the county assembly or even the National Assembly and advocate for the problems?
Let me say, at first, people do ignore your ambitions until you show them the action or the confidence that you have and how much you are willing to work for them in service. They'll start, in a small bit, they'll start believing in you. When I started, if I recall very well, it was very tough. The ground, actually, it received me positively. I can't say they negatively rejected me.
So ground ilikuwa sawa?
Ground ilikuwa safi, but the people, wanaitwa wale mnajua in quotes, wenye tulipiga. Sasa, you know, it happened back then that the leaders on top there, they never wanted the youths in their space. Actually, I was denied a chance to get a ticket. I almost got that ticket, the UDA ticket. I was denied. Actually, it never happened, the nomination. It was hijacked in Nairobi. The ballot papers never came. You can see how the leaders humiliate the young ones who want to do service to their people.
Are they afraid of maybe you're coming with new ideas, and I'm seeing Wakili is dying to actually speak up. But then briefly on that, why, do you feel like even now the older leaders would really, maybe they're afraid of the kind of new ideas that you'll be bringing up?
They are afraid. Let me say they are afraid. They are totally afraid. And once they feel, you know, when youths unite, they make a revolution, they form a revolution that they can oustar the old leaders. And once you know, majority of the youth do ignore a lot. If you recall very well, the 8 million who never voted in last year election, they were youths, majority were youths. They are with youths who saying, I'm not going to wake up and line up and do a voting that will not help me personally as an individual. That is the ignorance that we came up as youths, and we have to drop it if we want to go ahead and make reforms to our country. You know, it's tough for the people or for the youths who want to go on top there, starting on the ground. It's very tough. I can say it's very tough, and you must get prepared financially, both mentally and physically. You know, it is a vigorous exercise, and the leaders will not show you mercy.
Right.
Some merciless wound.
Now I'm curious how much you used in the campaign. Wakili, a brief one.
So just to add on to what he said, and what he spoke about, the youth not being given opportunities, even with the political parties, that is the reality, and I think it is sad. But this is what I would want us to do, in as much as we are saying, you know, we advocate or somebody to advocate for us. I think the youth also tend to avoid grassroots campaigns. We want to go to the National Assembly so fast, and we forget the County Assembly. So now at the County Assembly, we've left it to the village elders, to the chiefs. And you find that even them, they do not know how well to use these platforms. But if only we can come out and say that at my home area, that's a small ward that has maybe, you know, just 8,000 people. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. Because we have to start from down there. That is why the funds coming from the National Assembly are being embezzled down there, and we don't know. We don't even know from where to follow them up. And we are so much, also we need, I know I spoke about using social media as platforms to advocate for what we want. But we also now need to go down there and understand that the people that need the services in this devolution are down there, and they're not really on social media. So that is one of the things that we have to do. We have to start from the MCA. I think for me, education, when it comes to governance, education is a very important aspect. And I want the youth, especially those who are educated, Teddy, I hope you're going there. I want you to go and be an MCA somewhere so that you can change how things happen there. And if we start taking up these spaces, because how is it that
when it comes to campaigns, the political parties look for the youth, and they even form youth leagues. But when it comes to giving the tickets, now they think, no, let's give it to your grandfather first, and then we'll come to you next. So I think our agitation has to start from every sphere that we are in.
Right.
Yes.
Perhaps, Kirera, even as you chime in on that, do you think the country is ready for youth leadership?
First of all, I'd like to just say yes, but let me just pick up from what they're saying. I think I have a different perspective for all this. If you think about it, people who are old and in power were still young people at some point. So for me, I'd say it's not, I wouldn't say it's human nature, but it's a tendency that humans have to want to wield power. And if we're not also careful as a youth, we will fall into the same category. And we might also fall into the same trap. I think one of the best solutions is putting in infrastructure that allows the youth to, yes, participate, but also at some point when they get into another bracket, allow other youth to participate in the process. Because what comes in is probably this young, the youth bracket, but what happens when I get to 40 and I still have the capability to wield power? I will still hold on to it.
Yes.
So there's a very important urge, or there's a need actually, to have infrastructure that allows the youth to transition, yes, and to allow other youth to get into power.
Do you have that?
I don't
Do you feel like we really have leaders who maybe have exited the youth bracket and are actively really training?
Yes, let me give you, for example, in universities, in as much as it's looked at as a downfall, we're limited to 2 terms, especially when you're vying for the executive council. What that does is that it allows for other people to transition into it. Previously, we've seen student leaders who have held power for a long time. That is the exact same situation that we're in. So also as the youth, we might fall prey if we do not put in infrastructure, even on a national scale, to be able to. So unfortunately, we are not there. So we are the ones complaining, but when we get there, are we really ready to let go of power when power is meant to be let go of? To answer on the youth leadership, yes, we are. As youth, we offer fresh perspectives to solutions, to problems, to situations that we go through each and every day. So I strongly believe that with people as brilliant as Madam Thogo and President Teddy and Mr. Muni and my friend at the end, I strongly believe that this country would move in a better direction than it is currently. Yeah? The people who are leading us have been there from time immemorial. You know, I'd probably say ancient, but not ancient per se, but they've been there. They have done things in a particular way, but we're moving in a particular direction. Let me give, for example, the whole bill to ban TikTok. If you view TikTok, for example, just saying, as an enemy and not as a way to disseminate information, then it becomes a problem for you. Yes. But again, it's technology. It's what we have currently. We can use it to our advantage or to our disadvantage. So again, youth should be at the helm in this era because we look at things from a different perspective. We understand that, okay, this is what is there, it's not a threat. The people who are there before look at it and they're like, what is this? I don't understand it. And what you don't understand is dangerous to you. So yes.
Right, Teddy, there's a question he's asked. It matters letting go of power. As when your boss Uko KU, are you first of all, you as Teddy, are you ready to actually let go? And probably Wakili was saying hopefully she sees you MCA kwa hizi streets too. Utarudi hapo KU kufunza even now the next leaders, this is what you should really be doing and this is what you should really be doing.
I want to really believe that Kirera was not talking about me. I'm a two-term student leader. And there is something that is associated with power. It is really insatiable. And sometimes people think that at that particular position that you're holding, if you let go, then you might not find another one. Yeah, because really looking at it, as Kirera had said, these old leaders that you're now talking about were youth, or were the youth. And they have reached a point that they should now leave the stage for the youth, but then they cannot, you see. And I think they have mastered the art of using and abusing the youth. In which way? Because who will heckle during campaigns? Who will make noise? Who will cheer for you during the campaigns? You see that? So as a student leader and a hopeful leader in the future, you see, I'm really ready to let go of power, provided I'm serving somewhere, provided I can serve humanity. You know, it's not all about position for you to serve. It is the space you create, the impact you make on the people. And I think it is a culture that will really need a lot of effort to inculcate in the people.
And still on you, Teddy, when you talk about inculcating matters culture, largely these cultures are really inculcated in university setups. And basically the higher learning institutions and even the whole education sector. When we're taking a look at and taking stock and we talk about the future of devolution, education really plays a huge role in all of this. As leader in matters in a higher learning institution, you really come across matters, policies and all that. Wewe na Ruto mnacheza hapa, wewe mnaandika, unasign hizo vitu. Speak on our education sector in Kenya. Are we there yet in matters, even devolution on matters education?
You are talking about that at the very opportune moment when we are really talking about the university funding model. And let me just comment on it. That the fees that have been hiked are really punitive and have no good intention for the generation that we are currently in. If you want to really raise 300,000 for a first year or a student joining first year, and then I compare it with when I was joining first year, I actually had a tough moment raising 22,000, which was a fee at the moment. And so I don't really see education really succeeding, or the youth really partaking education as really expected. Yeah, because if the government failed to sponsor education through HELB, then how will it succeed in sponsoring students through scholarships? Yeah, and I think at some point the universities will get a hard time. Yeah, because right now they're happy. They think the government will be giving a good funding to the universities and all that. Now take a look. The government has failed to implement their promise, of funding you, or that percentage. The student is waiting for that same funding from the government. So who will lose? It is the universities and their structures, So I think we need to really take a really proactive measure to see to it that education succeeds. We need to make use of the devolved governments, the county governments, to really ensure that education succeeds to its maxims. Yeah.
It's interesting, even speaking matters funding and matters university. There's an interesting story here on the Daily Nation on where underage students are at risk of missing out on varsity loans. And then maybe I'll bring in Melvin, because you've been a student leader at the Parklands Law School in the University of Nairobi. Do you think these students coming in, that the age should be a factor when it comes to giving them HELB loans, for example?
Come again?
I'm asking, there's the whole issue of the underage students are at risk of missing out on varsity loans. They say now you have to be 18 years and above and have an ID in order to access the help loans. Do you think they should be curtailed from accessing these loans when it comes to their age as far as them joining campus is concerned?
No. I don't think that's a progressive idea at this point, because I mean, it's not going to be like they're 12 or 13. They're going to be just 16 or actually 17, just heading to 18. And I think it would be unfair that you've come all this way. Yes. And you've actually proved that you can do this, and you've come all the way to Kenyatta University of Nairobi, only for somebody to tell you that, because of your age, yes, we are not going to give you some of these things. Because again, I'm going to pay back, right? And is there a way that it's not like because I do not have a national ID, I'm going to disappear? You guys have my details. Yes. Once I get the ID, again, you'll feed it into your database. So I don't think this is, I think this is punitive and this is impunity, to be honest. And I think probably this government is also just looking for every way to frustrate people, because I don't see how. The people, I joined school 4 years ago with Paul, who was 17. Today they're 23. Yes. And they're into the job market now. So what's the problem with that? They're going to be paying back these loans. You guys are going to take their details and you're going to follow them up. So I do not see that, because they're not going to be underage forever. I don't think we should do it that way. And where did this even come from? Have we had people participating in making some of these laws? Because that's another thing. Yes. People sit somewhere and decide that, we have a percentage of these people, a certain percentage of people who are doing this and this, and we need to cut them off. What is the rationale for that? I do not get it. Yeah.
Still on matters devolution, maybe I'll come to Jane Kello here. What do you think are some of the barriers for you to participate actively in matters devolution at the county level, and how then can some of these challenges be addressed even as devolution hits 10 days here?
Thank you, Flo. All right, so some of the problems you're facing, as I keep reiterating, is misinformation or lack of information from the youth. That is the first thing. And to heal that, or to prevent that from happening, it's a personal responsibility to get in touch with what is happening. The other problem is we live in a community where we live in a world where the youth are used to getting tips. If I'm a politician and I'm coming to have a meeting with people in the village, I know I'm supposed to give them something, So the problem that some of us as the youth we face is, if you find out that there's no tip or there's no that kitu kidogo that Mheshimiwa tends to give people when they go to such meetings, you tend to fail to attend. Yes. So that is something that we really, really need to erase from our, from our expectations. If we want to move forward, or if we want to get involved in some of these things. It's just like, for example, when you're, let's say for example, you're friends with maybe a senator somewhere or a governor somewhere, and every time you call them, you ask for money, governor, kuna njaa kiasi uniwekee hata chakula, sijakula siku 5, do you think this person will ever pick your call, or they'll ever involve you in some of these things? Definitely no, because they know the only thing that you want is it's those small pocket change. Yes. We need to avoid that as the youth. We need to know, we need to look at the bigger picture. I want, for example, if I want to vie for maybe women rep Makueni County sometime.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. So if I want to do that, I will not just sit and, expect to be given tips by, who is who. I need to get informed. I need to show that I can sit in a panel and give an idea. I need to sit somewhere and talk about something very constructive as a youth. I need to show how capable I am. I want to talk about a friend of mine, Rachel Tabitha. Look at that lady. She's still a student, yes? In the University of Nairobi. I guess you guys know her.
Yeah.
Rachel Tabitha. MKU. Oh, yeah, MKU. You can imagine. Look at her age. Look at the way that girl has risen from down there up to, sitting with who is who, going to parliament and doing whatever she's doing. Why is she doing that? Because she has shown that she is capable of, sitting and giving ideas. She's she has shown that, she's learned and she has something to offer, not just, nitumie kitu kidogo nikule sapa.
Yes.
So those are some of the things we need to look at. So as the youth, if you're informed, if you can show that, if you've shown that you're informed and you're very knowledgeable and you have ideas, then who will not invite you to sit in a table and give out ideas?
Great.
But then, I mean, right now, when even as you come on this, you're the CEO of Tusome, Fund Plus. You definitely deal with students seeking scholarships and all this. And I even believe, your fellow student leaders have really, come across this. Students would really want scholarships. But then we've recently, seen sagas of students who really wanted either jobs or university studies outside the country. First of all, what's the problem with Kenya? What's the problem with working and studying in Kenya?
Number one is unemployment. There is that expectation from that student, once he or she graduates, will get a job. And once he realizes that there is no job, he'll try to seek other means where he'll get a job. And that is when the recent saga in Uasin Gishu County concerning the Finland scholarship program, that is from the former governor, His Excellency Madago. It is a very shameful thing. I want to call it off. The people who took that money, let them refund. Let those students have their money back, and maybe they can start a business with that money. It's a lot of money. If they had an ambition to go study abroad, let them chip in and try something else in Kenya. We are growing. First thing, right now, it's a heavy burden. You said I'm the CEO of Some Fund Plan. There is thousands of students who have approached us for a scholarship, especially the university.
Yet we were promised, the whole idea of devolution was also to have a free education in the country. So are we still having teething problems when it comes to education, in even matters devolution?
Actually, the education in Kenya is expensive, not free. It's not even near free. It's expensive. It's totally expensive. The elephant thing right now, it's the new university funding model. And I want to call my friend Dinyoro. Many people don't know where the idea came from. The idea came from Dinyoro. He is my friend. He knows I was there.
That's what he told you?
The idea came from Dinyoro.
Okay.
Seconded by Professor Kama and other VCs.
Okay.
And I want to call them off and tell them that the new university funding model, it's going to be to overburden the students. Once the government give you loan, like in my year, I owe the government 200,000 to 300,000. Actually, that is the range that all students owe the government once they graduate. Right now, if the students who are joining the 2022 candidates will owe the government over 1.3 million. You see, that is, and President Ruto promised us a grant in help. That is the elephant thing, and I'm telling them there is a revolution coming. Teddy here and Kirela, you can see them, the soft guys. But I'm telling you, once they call those students in the streets with a red T-shirt and a white handkerchief, the president will be worried. He doesn't know the revolution that can be created by the youths. And I want to tell them that they are overburdening actually us, the people who are promising the students scholarship, because you had budgeted for 100,000 every year for each student. Right now, you are trying to budget at least 200,000, and see, the number will reduce for the students. And I'm telling the government kindly what feel to the youths. The education, once they tamper with the education system, there will be nowhere else to run to. There is no jobs. There is even the online ones, they are not working right now. There is no job, actually. The economy is banned.
Right, I can see Wakili and Jen really have to really banning, but then, I don't know, Flo?
I think, Jen can chime in on that, even for...
Thank you. So, I want to, of course, I don't support the the new university funding, the fund. I'm not in support of that. For one, and when I was a student leader in MKU. That's where I did my second degree. Let me say this: the problem with our education system is we are all formatted to looking for jobs. You finish your university, you graduate with your undergrad, and the only thing that you think about is where will I get a job. When I was a student, I knew during graduation. We normally used to have different organizations coming to pick some of the very well performed students, the first class honors, the second up and the like. Yeah, you get jobs and all that. But I can say the problem here is us. We are not creative. We are not innovative. We eat books, and we are the same people who do exams for the students in those countries out there, in Europe, in the USA. Kenyans are the ones who do exams for those kids, and they do so well. So meaning we are very well, we have good brains. We have people who are very bright. But how creative are you? I mean, you want to get employed. Good. Look for the job. But if there's no job, what else are you supposed to do? Let me give you an example. I was employed by TSC. I resigned. Why did I resign? There's no money. But then, where did I resign to go? To teach. I'm a teacher, yes? How am I teaching? Look at the number of students who struggle with the subject that I teach, for instance, mathematics, chemistry. Yeah? So these students need someone to teach them, right? They need tutors. They need some of these students also, some of these parents prefer to do homeschooling. Do we have teachers who do homeschooling? No. We have students in the UK, we have students in the US who need teachers to teach them. Are we not the same people who do exams for the people in the UK and the US? We're still the same people. So how do you approach that? I sit in my house, I sit in my office, I teach students in the UK, in the US, something that someone out there would not think it can happen in this era. But we live in a digital era. So what I can advise, be as creative as possible. Be as innovative as possible. We are the same people who will create companies. We are the same people who will come up with ideas that we get to employ some of the youth that tend to study so hard and are out there without jobs. So yeah.
Great. And Kirera, maybe you will also give us your views on that. And do you think the youth are not maximizing their innovative skills in order to deal with the rate of unemployment in the country?
Okay, first of all, maybe I could chip in on, or to put into perspective to everybody who's listening, how the education or higher education is structured and the problems you're going through. So the government has its heart in the right place. They're trying to reform education, and especially higher education and funding. But the biggest problem we're facing is, first of all, for example, the first decision they made was that they increased the budget for HELB by over 20 billion, whereas they had the opportunity to give 20 billion into grants and scholarships. I think, first of all, that raises a bit of an eyebrow, because at some point you'll have to repay. If you really did care about this generation, then that wouldn't be the case. The reason why universities are also very tensed about whatever is going to happen, the new funding model, is because the same government that was meant to give 80% funding to each and every student gave 48.1% funding in 2021, and 50% before that. The trajectory is just going down. So even right now, with the particular funding model that's being proposed, how sure are we that that will be adhered to? Universities also still have a very large debt, 61 billion as the last time I checked, and it's growing each and every time. Whereas the government can look at how to bail out other parastatals and other entities, they do not look at universities as one that needs to be dealt with as such. They don't look at how we're going to probably deal with this debt or write it off or bail them out. Yet universities are struggling to even cater for themselves because they don't even receive the funding that they were meant to. For example, I just said 48.1%. They're not getting 30+% of funding. It becomes very critical. So we need to understand as Kenyans, as Kenyan youth, that we're in a very tight position. The government seems to take us as a liability. They're not really looking at us as an investment, and that becomes a problem because it will come to burden us. So to your question, please, you could maybe repeat again?
Question again. It was more of the role of the youth. Yeah, in
basically the whole role of youth in, as Jane was alluding to, creativity.
Yes.
To creativity.
How can we harness their innovative skills to curb the rate of unemployment in the country?
Okay, my argument would be this. It's that for you to begin or, for example, start a business, as most people would assume, you need financing. But as a Kenyan youth, I do not have assets to be able to get that particular financing. So it's also a hurdle in between. Because you do not have a car to probably put as collateral. You don't have equity because you've not been earning. So where will I start from? So people result to probably employment. The problem with employment is, for example, you have 20,000 graduate engineers. Only 3,000 engineers are certified in Kenya. That's also a very big problem because now it leaves 17,000 people. Let me even blow it up. We have 285,000, I think 167 students coming to campus. 600,000 are nowhere to be found. All of them are unemployed, they're not earning. So where will these people get funding to even push their creative ideas? 600,000 people in the gap, you know.
And even as you mentioned funding, I'm curious from Teddy, even, I'll start with you, Akili, because I see you have the mic. Teddy can also chime in on the same. The participation of youth when it comes to now the budget making process, around when now for this next financial year, 2023, 2024, we did see, counties mentioning what their budget will look like. But from where you sit, how much of the participation of youth was maybe really done? How much should the youth be participated in when it comes to budget making process for development plans for a county?
First of all, let me say that mostly we just see our governors raising issues of our budget this time has been cut short, our budget, we need this, we need that. But when it comes to, to the county level, we actually never know why do we need this amount of money and why do we say that this is what we need and we cannot do with this. Right. So even as the funds come down to the county levels, we actually don't see where they're going. And if you look at the case of Uasin Gishu, then you get to, if these are people actually gave them money, they took the money and nobody knows where the money went, then it means that even the money that is coming now from the government, the one that we are not able to tell them that, guys, we gave you 50 million. Will we ever be able to now call them out and maybe hold them accountable and tell them, we gave you guys 80 billion. What happened? So you can say that it comes from the national government, gets somewhere, and then suddenly they're like, we don't have money for this. So from where I sit, the youth are not involved when it comes to the budget process. We do not know, because ideally, when the money is coming down to the county, we are supposed to now be told that this is how we would like to use this money. Or them actually just coming and holding this, let me call them barazas, and telling us that, we've asked for this, pipeline people are asking you to make this and that. So where do we put this money? This is the amount of money that we have. And where do we put it? What goes into education? Right. And so it's vague. I would say it's vague because it comes and then suddenly the next financial year is here and we're asking for more money, but nothing has come. And if you look at let me say Nakuru, because that's where I was born. Nakuru is a city, but all it has is a city status.
Okay.
But I wouldn't even call it status. Let me just say it has a city as a label there. But Nakuru is one of the slowest places that you can live in right now. If you tell me to go back
Mombasa.
home, no, Mombasa is actually doing well. I think because of the port.
Okay.
But Nakuru is slow because if I'm to start a business, I don't think I would go to do law there. I don't think I would start any other business, even if it's just selling, products.
Right.
Our industries died. Also, the tourism industry in Nakuru isn't even doing so well right now, and this is when we have devolution. So we're supposed to be, bring in the investors, bring in everything for us to even actualize the city status. Right. So you look at some of these things and wonder, then where is this money going? Because always we are here to pay salaries. We are paying salaries, and you guys keep paying salaries, and we don't even know who are these people you guys are paying, and with billions of shillings.
And a good question you're really raising there, and even as you pass the mic to Ted, even at right now, because time is really flying by the way. A whole matters conversation, quite an important one, and we should really now be getting to the whole solutions and solutions. Ted, I'm curious now, will it actually really solve all this if youth are factored in and participate in the budget making process? Let's even start with the county.
Okay. First, I would like to reiterate on Mheshimiwa's comments that it is not us who will call the comrades. It is the comrades who are now calling us, because the rate at which the clamor and agitation is at, I can say it's at its height. Yeah. So I really think that if you could come up again about the budget.
Well, basically, the youth participation in budget making process in county integrated development plans. If youth are really participating in this, will it cure some of these issues that we were talking about? The whole Finland saga, the unemployment, the fact that youth were there when the budget making process was being done for different sectors, for example, education, health. They were there and they said, well, we propose that for this plan, put this amount of money, and well, there are reasons. Will it actually cure some of these problems you're raising here?
I think the elephant in the room is corruption, because yes, we have been, or the youth have been participating in the budget making process in as much as not to the intended heights. There is participation, and there is now a utilization of the same very funds. So with the upscaling corruption, I don't really think there is a positive outcome or it will change the status quo. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The only thing that can really salvage the situation is accountability and integrity. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we have been allocating funds. The youth will be doing this, affirmative action. The only thing you'll see in a county is tournaments for the youth. When the tournament is over, then it's done with the youth. What has it impacted? Even in the tournament, that youth who showcased a very quality talent, what's next for that particular youth? Yeah. So I really think corruption has to be mitigated, and we must be proactive, even as we really involve the youth in budget making process and in implementing positive ideas that come up from the same.
Yeah. And even speaking of matters corruption involving the youth in terms of budget allocation, the AGPO program provides that 30% of all government procurement contracts will be held in reserve for the youth, the vulnerable, as well as the people with disability in the nation, and that would therefore shield them from the competition from the already established firms at the county level. Do you think the youth are taking advantage of this? And this is also, let me just narrow it down to tenders. Are these tenders even given to the youth at the county level, or they are just reserved for the people who've been there before? Yeah. Okay.
Let me say there is no tender for youths. The tender belongs to the billionaires and millionaires. Mm-hmm. There is no tender. Actually, I've tried applying for a tender since 2021. I haven't gotten any.
2 years down the line.
2 years down the line. Yeah. So don't be lying that the tenders belongs to the youth. There is no tender that goes to the youth. You can ask everywhere. Yes. There is no tender that goes to the youth. Not unless the youth is a millionaire. But the youths we are talking about, they are below the pyramid. So number one, I had a very nice proposal. Actually, I'm trying to work it out with our governor. Governor Igor, Governor Igor is someone who is very ambitious, and maybe one day she will like to run for presidency in this country. Okay. And the first proposal I was, instead of hiring these CSs, the 54 CSs, let those ministries accommodate at least 5 youths below the bracket, that is the 18 years and to 34. Let those ministries accommodate at least five youths in every ministry, to accommodate 5 youths, and don't give them all those all that money. You know, our CAS was there was allocation of about 800 million. You know, plus our allowances. It's a lot of money. Give that youth 100,000 plus a car, means of transport.
But then the question of experience will really come up. But then we're really out of time, so we should really now.
Absolutely, I think it's time to give them a chance to. In a nutshell, what is the future of devolution? Yes.
30 seconds each. We are being reminded by the director. The whole theme, again, future of devolution. We can probably start with Jen as we wrap it up like that.
Devolution was a good idea, for one. It is, we embrace it. But I would really encourage the youth to participate, to get involved in matters devolution, get involved with what is happening out there, attend different forums that come up from the counties, from the national government, take up elective positions as much as we need money, which is a tendency that we've cultivated among ourselves. But even if you'll not have that huge amount of money to do campaigns and all that, I can say we've seen people who have made it even without those huge amounts of money. Like look at Peter Salasia, the other guy, I can't remember the name, Peter, I'm not sure, the guy from Meru, he made it without that money. So we can take up elective positions, we can get involved in matters devolution, we can get involved in matters oversight the roles of these different leaders. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
I support devolution. Let me start by, I support devolution 100%, but I think there is few amendments that are required for youth representation, actually in the county assembly. Let those seats go to the youths. Let's scrap that, let's put an age limit for the MCAs and have a full 100% representation. You know, when we do that, at least we can say, we cannot blame the government that they are not taking the finances and the money to us. Let's scrap let's put a term, an age limit. Let all the youths get involved. Let them represent us. I think that is the future that we look up to.
Probably 2027 MCA. Somewhere
actually, I was going for an MP Mwea constituency, Kirinyaga County. That's where I am.
Hopefully next time we hear you on the ballot.
So I'd like to speak and say that devolution is an action. And in the current government, we need to see that taking place everywhere. And I'm really passionate about education. So to the Ministry of Education, I'd like to say that the devolutionary aspect should get to also us as students. And if it does not get to us as students, then we shall bring it to the Ministry of Education. Because at the end of the day, even His Excellency, the President, Your Excellency, he does understand that at the end of the day, we are an integral part of this devolutionary vision. And if it does not come to us, then most definitely there's something that we're not doing right as a country.
Right.
Yeah. We're the ones who are supposed to progress this country. The drivers of this economy, we're the engineers, we're all these things. If we are not part of it, then is devolution really a solution for our problems? It isn't.
Teddy, comrades, okay, unajua na what say. I'd really want to hear what your parting shot would be.
Okay. So I would like to say that just like a small child or a baby that has been born, it's now 10 years of devolution. And I think we need to look at the pros and the cons for the past 10 years and look at what else can be done to improve devolution more and more. We have heard about the youth participation and all that. So where we didn't do it perfect, the youth should now rise up, take stage, and really be active to ensure that they are also counted in matters devolution. So I would really finish at that point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okili?
As we conclude, I want to say that devolution is one of the best things that has happened to this country. And I think we've been able to see progress in terms of development. And now we see that development is getting to people, people in Northeast and people far east, far north. And I think it is really the best thing that has happened to us. I want to challenge the youth. When we give you a small position, like you're an executive at the county, you're an assistant secretary to the governor, to the MCA.
Okay.
Could you not forget where you came from? Remember what we've been talking about. Any chance you get, please table these ideas. Please present these challenges to them.
Okay.
Because the thing with youth inclusion is we agitate for it every other time, and sometimes even when you guys are included, we do not get to see you doing what you're supposed to do.
All right.
Do not get into the government and then be one of them. We hope that when you get those spaces, you actually do what is supposed to be done. Make the constitution and the bylaws and everything else your friend, so that you do not ask for things that you do not know where they'll come from. And you also do not speak from a vacuum where you don't know what already is there. And I would also like to take a good example from a lady on Twitter called, I think, Hanifa or Hanisafi.
Mm-hmm.
She's shown us the way. She keeps calling out Governor Sakaja every single day about pipeline. Yeah. And she does not tire. And I hope that we can emulate that, because in the end we will ask her that we brought this to your attention, and what did you do about it? Let us use all our platforms for the good of the society. Thank you
so much.
Right. Santeni sana, Melvin Thogo, a lawyer, hopefully again maybe a leader 2027, probably even governor. Teddy Othiambo, President KU, and also rightfully put it, Comrades of the Republic of Kenya, CRK movement. Kirera Mushoki, President, Students Association of Technical University of Kenya. Thank you very much for coming through. And also Munyi Rukungu, CEO, Tusome Fun Plus. And finally, Jane Chalo, youth leader. And again, as she had put it, maybe woman representative, Makueni County 2027.
Great.
Asanteni sana for coming through. It was quite
interesting conversation there.
Uh-huh.
And of course, we cannot exhaust matters youth and devolution, but we do hope this is a time that the youth really comes in full throttle to fight for their space, both at the county level and also at the national government level.
Oh yes, and actually the fact that today they'll actually be discussing all this, having matters youth and young people really talking about youth and governance. Yes. But the whole matter serious talk really has to wrap it up at 8 a.m.
Yes, at this point. And on the other side, we do have some entertainment shows, and the DJ there is on standby.